City Clerk, good? We good? Good evening, everyone. It is 6:01 p.m. Today is February 17th, 2026. We're at the Cape Canaveral City Council regular meeting at the City Hall Council Chambers located at 100 Polk Avenue in Cape Canaveral, Florida. I call this meeting to order. And with that, Councilmember Shay King, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Here.
Councilmember King.
Here.
Mayor Morrison.
Here.
Councilmember Shoriak.
Here.
And Councilmember Willis.
Here.
City Council, thank you all for being here, our city staff and all from the community. We appreciate your time this evening. At this time, we are on item number 4 to approve the agenda as written or with amendments. I would like to take this time, I've just notified the city manager and I think he's spread the word and want to tell the council that I need to leave this meeting tonight at 7:00 p.m. So as we're considering this item, approve agenda as written, I wanted to let you know that before this. So if there's anything that we would need to get to, the agenda is in front of us. So if we want to take a minute or two and consider that, and if anyone wants to chime in, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to move the LNG discussion up in the agenda, but closer to the front since we have multiple people here for that agenda item.
Okay, so that is item number 10.1.
Yes,
The
sir.
liquefied natural gas plant. Councilmember Willis, is that? That's fine.
That's fine.
Any issues? Okay. Are there any other changes? So the first one is to move 10.1.
If we could move it before that public hearing item, is that possible?
Yeah, okay. So we'll finish. We don't have any items for action. Move the item for discussion right after the consent agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay. You see where that is? Any concern with it, placing it at that point in the agenda? Any other changes? Okay. Look for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to move the agenda item 10.1 to right after the consent agenda item.
A second.
Got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Jackson, second by Councilmember Shay King. Any further discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk?
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Or
Councilmember King.
4.
Mayor Morrison.
4.
Councilmember Shoriak.
4.
And Councilmember Willis.
4.
All right, the agenda is approved with the amendments, which brings us to item number 5, presentations and interviews. The first presentation is certificates of appreciation to the former Board of Adjustment members. If you don't mind and you're willing, if you served on our Board of Adjustment and you're here today, would you mind showing hands? Just trying to get an idea. It looks like we have 3 members here. Hello, thank you all very much for being here. I think just matching up names and faces. Thank you. Mr. Hepp, Mr. Brewer, and Mr. Elau, all here. Excellent. Thank you again. So I will go ahead and bring these forward. Before doing so, and if you'd like to come forward, each one of you will present them. We can do it as a group, one at a time, and if you'd like to say a few words, you're more than welcome to. On behalf of the City of Cape Canaveral, please accept our sincerest thanks for your service on the Board of Adjustment. Your outstanding work and dedication on the board has been sincerely appreciated. The city thanks you for the time and effort given to serve on the board. Your contributions have been worthwhile to help make Cape Canaveral a quality place to live. The City Council and staff sincerely appreciate all that you have done, wish you the best, and hope you continue to enjoy calling the City of Cape Canaveral your home. So, thank you.
Want that too? Yeah.
Council, come on in.
I thought we were having TV coverage in Orlando.
Thank you.
All right. Can we
One more.
get back in the deep end of the TV?
At this time, we are on item number 6, which is public participation. I do have a couple of cards here. I do see that one of them is noted for item number 9, which I believe is the public hearing item. And just want to confirm, Mr. Oliver, do you intend to speak during the public hearing, or would you like to speak now? Yes, sir. Item number 9. Thank you. John Benton? Okay. If anyone did intend to speak, those are the only 2 cards I have. Please bring them forward. Mr. Benton, you can go ahead and come forward and speak. Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, we know what I'm here for. I want my code reduction hearing. You've been putting it off for 12 years. You didn't let me defend myself in that meeting. And you let a pedophile groomer whose son was claiming he lived in a warehouse on the sex offender site. And now haven't gotten any response from a request of the text message that you sent the deputy to my house that I received from somebody else was using the N-word. And you fired the mayor last year, or the city manager last year, because he was doing it. He erased text. So what about yours? I haven't heard anything about it. The city clerk over there, when I talked to her when I came to the meetings a couple of months ago, she said that she didn't see it. And then she sent me an email and said, you know, it went in like junk and she'd take care of it, and she emailed me about it. And I haven't heard from her, and I sent her one last Thursday night letting her know, when's this going to happen? Has the N-word on it. They're up. They were the ones up there calling you guys on the phone. Benton's living in his warehouse. Code enforcement's not doing their job. All the board members they were calling. The city manager, well, you just got rid of one city manager last year. You got the other one walked out on you with a day's notice. Afraid I was going to come in. So I guess you're going to sit up there and tell me I can't get that record? Well, then we all know that you cover up people that uses the N-word because they go to the Catholic Church up here. It's disgusting. You don't mess with somebody like me, man. Kevin, man, letting him testify against me and then wouldn't let me defend myself, and I'm a 3-time survivor of 3 schools in Orange County and came forward in 1993 on one of them. And he served 5 of 8 years. You didn't send a reverend to jail in 93. And you let that Kevin Mann testify after because he's a deacon up there. I already sold him 2 warehouses. And I think people's living up there now. I see the front 4x4 units up there. Homeless people have their stuff in it. It's full. So at night, I'm going to imagine that they go back to the back of the warehouses on either side, and that's where they're staying at night. So you might want to send the cops up there about 12 o'clock if you see them catching them up there, because if I go up there, we're going to have a problem, because I'll go up there and get the pictures one of these times. After you guys laughed at me in the code enforcement hearing, I brought you in all those people.
Thank you.
You're a moron.
Dr. Shannon Roberts.
Shannon Roberts, 703 Solana Shores Drive, here in Cape Canaveral. And I wanted to, first of all, on a personal note, thank Kay and Molly for rescuing me the other night. I had a broken down vehicle. I just wanted to, it was informal help, but I really appreciated their rescuing me. Thank you. And on that night, we had the Apollo to Artemis sort of opening of that exhibit at the Cape Center. And I just wanted to thank those that organized it. That would include Molly and Amy and others, I'm sure, and Brandon. It was an incredible event. It had about, I'm going to guess, 100 people there because it just seemed like it was packed. But I just wanted to mention that as an example of cultural, almost a cultural center initiative on the part of the city that I think is an example for other municipalities actually in the county and perhaps in the state. That Cape Center has got some wonderful exhibits, and I was just so impressed with the amount of participation that night and the amount of work that went into making it so special. NASA was also involved too, which was a great partnership. So I just wanted to mention that. And also, just because of the location of the Cape Center, it brings to mind the significance of that area between the Cape Center and the Nancy Hansen Center is kind of a gathering place for the community. I know that now that we've lost Cape View, possibly, it sort of brings to mind the opportunity for the city to possibly rise to this occasion to develop a really incredible gathering place for the city, and that might be an opportunity to really welcome our residents and guests and so forth because it's such a special location. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, those are the 2 cards I have and Mr. Oliver's for the future item. Anyone else intended to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public participation. Bringing it back to item number 7, Managers Matters. This is something our city manager has started since he first began with us. It's greatly appreciated. It's a great opportunity for him to go through some of the updates. So with that, Mr. Touchberry.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Mayor. The first item is an update, facilities update with our City Hall air conditioners. We did assign onto a job to get the air conditioner installed. We selected a provider. We selected the team to install it, and we're looking at ultimately what could be upwards of a 16-week project beginning now. So that takes us to the middle part of June at the very latest when that project will be completed. So as we get, closer to start time for that project, we'll definitely let the community know because it's going to involve the displacement of some parking. We're going to have a crane in the parking lot. We may have to implement, we'll probably will implement a work from home policy depending on the assignment of the employees in City Hall and the type of work that they do. But we'll keep council posted on that moving forward. But we're pleased to have gotten to this point. If you've been to Sandpiper Park lately, you can see that there's some new playground equipment that has been delivered and it's pending installation. There was a pre-install walkthrough that was conducted by our staff members along with the vendor, and we're looking forward to all that equipment ultimately being installed there. Item 7.2, we have city personnel update. We've hired 3 new employees since our last meeting. Nick Setliff, who's a utilities mechanic, Gidget Vici, who's a code enforcement officer, and we have Astrid Guzman, who is a records management specialist, and Astrid happens to be here this evening. Astrid, if you could wave to council, right? She works for the clerk's office. Yeah, comes to us with a good amount of experience, and we appreciate having her. Thank you for being here, Astrid. So personnel rules update, as you know, when I was hired back in August, this was a project that was pending. And just to give you an update, the final draft has been advanced back to HR with our comments for final review and incorporation. And then we anticipate getting that document to the council prior to our next council meeting for a year review. Whether or not it goes on the agenda, it'll depend, but we want it at least in your hands to start reviewing it because there are a lot of important policies that you're probably going to want to talk about. And I think what I'll do is I'll engage every one of you after we get it to you to find out when you're most comfortable with putting it on the agenda. I don't want to hit you with it and you're not prepared to talk about it. I think it's best to let you have it for a while, then when you're ready, we'll get it on the agenda. So thank you for that. Item 7.4 is my evaluation. My contract states that I'll be evaluated after 6 months. That 6-month time has come. Tomorrow is the end date for people to evaluate me. We did a 360-degree evaluation. We put it out there to the community, to our employees, and of course to the council members. We to date have 52 evaluations have come back. That's a combination of employees and people from the community. So we can get those to the council after, once the deadline passes, which is tomorrow. But we're going by Section 5 of the contract, paragraphs A and B, predominantly paragraph A, which didn't really call for a 360 evaluation, but it's something that I opted to do for the council's benefit so they can get input from the community. I didn't know if the city attorney had any comments or council has any questions on that.
Council, on the update regarding city manager's 6-month evaluation due tomorrow, February 18th, and we're on the March 17th agenda, we will have it scheduled and go through it. Any comments on that or questions?
I think I was the first one to get mine in, my evaluation.
All righty. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Item 7.5, Information Technology Services Agreement with Canaveral Fire. I briefed all of you. Fire approached us about managing their IT services, and we have drafted an agreement between them and us, and the city attorney has spent a lot of time on it, and it is in Canaveral Fire's hands being reviewed, and we anticipate them getting it back. We're looking for a start date of March 1st on that. So we're excited to provide those services for those guys. And then finally, paid parking update. This was another project that was brought to my attention when I was hired that we would like to look into that. This is a pay by app, not pay by parking meter. And with very clear instructions that residents will not be paying. It will be free to residents. And so we have engaged a vendor for conversation at this point. The dialogue is really pretty exciting. The features that they offer, how people can pay, how we manage the payment. We get every bit of our fee that we include in our ordinance, and then there's an additional fee that goes to the service that's provided. There is a provision to determine lack of compliance if people are just parking and not paying, but it's pretty easy. The vendor that we're looking at is very large. They currently service 36 cities in the state of Florida. They're the largest in the United States from what we can tell. But we will do our due diligence and we'll do a side-by-side comparison with other vendors to make sure that this is the best thing for us. But I just wanted to give you a brief update to let you know that we are moving forward. My timeline for the city on this project would be implementation by October 1st to coincide with the fiscal year. We're talking February right now. That gives us time to do our due diligence with other vendors. There is a contract we can piggyback off of with this one particular vendor, which could, mean that we don't have to go out to bid for this service. But we'll also have to promulgate an ordinance. And I think we'll need at least until October 1st to do that. So that would be my recommended timeline for this project, but it will coincide with our fiscal year so we can track whatever earnings the city brings in through paid parking. So I'll be bringing more information to the council on that as we move forward. And unless there's any questions,
I have a
those
question.
are my matters. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, Mayor Pro Tem.
And you had said you're going to track the revenue for the city. I wanted to ask, do we have any projected revenues from the vendor?
We do not. At this time, no. We're just in preliminary conversations with what services and the mechanics that, are applied with those services.
Okay, and I wanted to make sure, I'm going to say this, confirming what you said, so that our residents hear this,
Right.
because we have done this, we've been here before.
Yes.
The residents will not have to pay to park.
That is correct. So there are two options that were provided to us. One is that we can engage them to do it for us, but they recommend that we just go to a sticker system so that we issue a decal to the residents, and as they go park, the decal is their pass. They don't have to pay for that, and that would be something that we renew every year. We're going to have to determine how we figure out if they're a resident, you could say you are, okay, but we need to see probably, and this is just preliminary conversation I've been having with staff, go by vehicle registration address. That way we know that vehicle should have a decal. If they're a new resident, they haven't converted that over, then maybe perhaps their driver's license or their voter ID. We need to tie them to a physical address in the city, and then some other criteria, because there will be situations where, hey, my daughter just moved back home, from college, and her address hasn't changed yet. We understand that. So we'll do everything we can to work with residents, but we do want to avoid, misuse of the system too.
Absolutely. Now, and then my last question is more of a request for the vendor, so that we can have some ideas of a similar town, since they are in 36 cities here in Florida, of the revenue generated by a similar town.
Absolutely. The list that they've shown me is broken down by the number of parking spaces. So the larger the municipality, obviously the more parking spaces. So there are some smaller communities that have as few as 40 parking spaces. So from what we've been able to determine, there are no cities on the barrier island here in Brevard County that are currently using this particular vendor. But we'll get that information for you.
I just think it'd be good for council to know, just with the history of this agenda item that I'm aware of. And that was my last thing, Mr. Mayor, back to you.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. Any other questions on the update? I have one, and you might have said it, or the personnel rules update. The timing of the draft, when that will come over, what was that again?
My goal is to get it to you before the March meeting so you can review it. We can have discussion on whether or not it's best to put it on the March meeting, but I'm thinking you would probably want more time to review it, and then maybe as early as April. But the goal is to get it to you before March for your review.
Thank you. One question for the city attorney. Once those personnel procedures are ready, is that something the council, I think is that a charter thing where we would approve it? Just trying to find it, but I guess
Yeah,
what?
the city council would have to enact an ordinance
Okay,
to repeal the prior personnel policy and replace it with a new one.
that's what it was. The other one, I remember at the bottom, on the cover, it says approved by, it was a former council, and so it's been excellent. Thank you for that update, and that's one looking forward to. I know we've got, I think, a good opportunity there, so yes. You'd like a Yes, if you don't mind, please come to the podium. Is it in regards to this issue here?
Is that what you want?
Oh, to the paid, well, we were sort of talking about all the updates.
May I comment on that, or?
Yes, I don't have any, counsel, do we have an issue with her?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, that's okay.
I am concerned from a resident's perspective that inherent in our analysis, that there really be a cost-effective analysis of this. As Councilmember Jackson mentioned, we've been here before, and this was something that the residents, their overwhelming reaction at the time was not to have paid parking, as we know. And I think if we're revisiting this, we have to really do a serious cost analysis of this in terms of how much is it going to cost the city to administer it? As was asked, how much revenues we're going to get from it. And also an example of where those municipalities that have used it, what is their reception to it? What is their experience with it? So personally, I think as a resident, we need to do a lot more analysis on whether we want to do this or not because of the administrative cost of it and potentially the confusion of who is to be administered it or not. I know some people don't like stickers on their cars. In fact, as residents, they don't have them even in condos because they don't care for stickers per se. So these are maybe intangible dimensions of the cost to our city relative to the benefits. But I really do believe we need to do a serious cost-benefit analysis of this before we proceed. I don't think we should take it as a given that we're going to proceed with this until we give it more thought, including, the cost of it, the benefits relative to, and the experiences of other municipalities, whether they've been receptive or not, and so forth. So, and the cost to our city. I know the last time we really realized it was going to cost us a lot to administer it. And I just really am not feeling comfortable that we have that information in front of us right now, at least for the community.
If I may, Mayor.
Yes, please.
We're talking about October 1st and implementation. There are many meetings between now and then. I would recommend a workshop for consideration so the public can give input. But we'll get every bit of information that's relevant to this decision before the council, before you decide. We're way early in this. I'm just trying to give the council an update.
Yes, and I know the implementation, this is not something this council's decided. I think our city manager is putting, the project is to get exactly the pieces of what you're saying, and I know that you were on the front lines of that last one.
Well, I wasn't the only one. These are the residents. That was what was
Yes.
the big persuasive factor. And when I hear it sound like we're proceeding, it really concerns me that we haven't done our due diligence in analyzing the cost and the benefits of it.
We will most certainly do that, and I'm sure as those show up on the agenda for the first time, we'll make sure the residents know about it as well, because yes, there are some strong opinions on it for some good reasons, and I'm looking forward to some of the new technologies and things that we can do. So thank you for that update.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Because we gave Dr. Roberts time, I want to be fair. If anyone else would like to speak on anything managers matters, you could please come forward. Seeing none, thank you again, Dr. Roberts and council. We are now, I guess, about to be at consent agenda. Before going, just want to confirm that's all the question I had. Are there any others regarding the city manager? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to the consent agenda. Item number 8, approval of the minutes. These are January 20th, 2026 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Willis, a second by Councilmember Shoryak to approve the consent agenda item number 8. Any further discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk.
Sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
4.
Councilmember King.
4.
Mayor Morrison.
4.
Councilmember Shoryak.
4.
And Councilmember Willis.
4.
Consent agenda item 8 passes 5-0, which now brings us to item for action number 9. We have no items for action tonight, and with the amendment on the agenda we made earlier in the meeting. We'll now move on to item 10.1, which was placed under public discussion. This is now going to precede the public hearing. 10.1 is liquefied natural gas, LNG plant. Councilmember Willis.
Yes, thank you. I won't read the entire summary, but we'll hit some of the highlights of it. But as we all know, there was a recent proposal given to the port for an LNG or purchase of a property to put a LNG plant on, and this possible development of an LNG production and storage facility along State Road 528 on Merritt Island. And even though it isn't in the boundaries of the city of Cape Canaveral, it would exist within our shared geography, our shared transportation network, and our shared responsibility for public safety, environmental protection, and quality of life. And proximity alone makes this a matter worthy of discussion by this council and the community. And residents may express concern about the safety and emergency preparedness and evacuation planning, whether adequate safeguards exist to protect the surrounding community. And this all sounds somewhat negative, but there is the potential for regional benefits, so we need to acknowledge that possibility as well. But we need to also understand that with these benefits, we must be weighed against the risk. And while the city may not have regulatory authority over a facility located outside its jurisdiction, we would share in the consequences of any failure. Emergency response demands, environmental exposure, impacts to the community, and strain on shared infrastructure. And limited control does not equate to limited local impact. And this discussion is intended to ensure that the city of Cape Canaveral remains engaged, informed, and deliberate, and it allows council to consider what questions should be asked, what information should be requested, and what regional partners and regulatory agencies and how the city should position itself to protect residents while participating constructively in regional conversations. And there, I will acknowledge that there's a community meeting hosted by the LNG project energy companies scheduled for Wednesday, February 18th, 2026 from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Cape Canaveral Community Center. And we've asked the Canaveral Fire Rescue to come and give us a presentation on the LNG and their preparations, their capacity, their ability to respond to anything. So I'll turn it over to Commander Quinn, Chief Quinn.
Yes, thank you, Chief Quinn and Deputy Chief Crowley and our entire team being here with us today.
Thank you.
Councilmember
Good evening,
Willis.
Council. I'd like to introduce Brian Dennison. He's going to give a brief demonstration and on LNG presentation. Sorry, not demonstration. On LNG. So that woke everybody up.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. Thank you for allowing me to speak to the Council and to the community about what LNG is. My position and our position within the fire department is preparedness. We want to make sure that we are 100% prepared should this actually go into Merritt Island. And I can assure you that all the personnel with Cape Canaveral Fire Department, Canaveral Fire Rescue are 100% prepared. We have the equipment that we need. We have the education that we need. So my job here is to just talk about what LNG is and what LNG is not. I have a PowerPoint presentation. There's a couple of videos. It talks a little bit about it. And if anyone has questions, we're here to help with those questions.
Thank you. I think we've got printed copies of the presentation. We're working on the monitors here, and if you just give us a second, that one, I think it is your intent to go through this with us.
Yes,
I think
please.
greatly appreciated. Thank you. Council, any questions before we get started?
No, that's the right one. Oh, okay.
We got it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think we're ready to go.
Okay. So again, we are talking about liquefied natural gas. If you'd advance the slides, please. So what is LNG? Advance again. LNG is refrigerated natural gas. Natural gas comes from fossil fuels, just like coal, just like oil. It's been around since the beginning of time. First commercial production, first commercial use of it was 1959. So we can see that it's been around for many years. They transported it for street lighting in the UK since 1959. The ship that was transporting it to the UK was in service from 1959 to 1972, with never having a loss of product, never having an accident with that product. The biggest reason why LNG is safe or safer than some of the other fuels is the professionalism of the people that handle it. The professionalism of the crews that carry it, the people that work in the facilities. You can go to the neighborhood store, you can pick up a 20-pound cylinder of propane, throw it in the trunk of your car and take it home. You can send your 12-year-old kid to the store and fill a 5-gallon gas can full of gasoline and have him take it home. You can't do that with LNG. It requires professionals to handle the product. That's the biggest step in the safety of the product itself. Okay. It's the same natural gas that people are using in their homes. They've been using it in their homes for many years, for heating, for cooking, things of that nature. There is nothing different about it. The only thing that has changed is the form that it is in. It is in a refrigerated form, and it is a very, very cold cryogenic liquid. So we talk about the properties of it. When we look at the properties, it's stored at minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit. At minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit in a liquid form, it is not flammable at that temperature. It requires some form of vaporization for it to become flammable. And that vaporization begins at minus 259 degrees. So as long as it's kept in that liquid state, it is a safe product to move throughout the community. When it vaporizes, it's going to vaporize and begin to rise. Methane gas is the primary product of it, and methane rises as it warms up. That's the biggest piece of it. It's not like propane that stays close to the ground or gasoline that stays close to the ground. It liquefies to 1/600th its volume, so it's easy to carry it and easy to move it in a liquid state. Again, in the cryogenic behavior of it, it's going to stay close to the ground at the minus 260 degrees. As it vaporizes, it begins to rise. We can get it to rise more quickly, and the fire department is prepared for that, as well as the facilities are prepared for that. The only thing we have to do is we have to warm it up to get it to rise. How do we warm it up? At minus 260 degrees, we put a water curtain up. The vapor goes into the water curtain and immediately warms up and goes vertical, up and away from us. It makes it so that it's safe. It makes it so that it's a much better product in the community than some of the other choices. Current uses right now, the marine industry is using it quite extensively. 2015, I was asked to do some research at the request of some of the cruise lines and some of the oil companies into what LNG is. I've been all over the world and gone through what LNG is, how it works. I've taught classes for a lot of different organizations to make sure that people understand what it is and what it is not. We're now moving into some of the transportation. You can see some of the transportation models that are up there. One of the biggest ones that a lot of people don't recognize is Florida East Coast Railway. Florida East Coast Railway has been moving LNG, powering their locomotives with LNG since 2017. Most people don't realize that. They roll up and down Florida East Coast Railway's rail line every day. Again, the cruise lines are beginning to become more and more saturated with LNG. There's several reasons for it: the safety of the product, the cost of the product, and the environmental impact of the product. Out of all the fossil fuels, LNG is, or natural gas is, one of the safest to the environment. It cuts down all of the pollution factors as part of it, cuts down all of the particulate matter that lands on people's homes, on people's cars, things of that nature. So it's huge in the safety of that process. Now we're moving into the aerospace industry. I thought for sure there was no way I was ever going to deal with aerospace being in the fire service. I retired after 25 years here with the fire department, and now we're moving into SpaceX, Blue Origin, Relativity Space, ULA, everybody is moving to LNG. Why? Because it's safe, it's operational, and it's inexpensive to continue to use. Direct injection into systems, when they look at it, direct injection into systems, if we have an outage, we have natural gas coming through our city already. So if they have an outage, they have to shut something down to be able to continue supplying people with natural gas. What they'll do is they bring an LNG tank trailer in and they pump it directly into the system. When they pump it into the system, they can get the same pressures and they can run the system for years utilizing these transportation trucks. They bring it in as LNG, again, in the trailer, it's very safe. They vaporize it, they put it into the system, and you can still cook with it, you can still heat your homes with it while the system is shut down while they're doing other repairs. These are a couple of videos. I hope we're able to play them. These are videos that we did. We do training at Port Canaveral on a regular basis with LNG product. And when we talk to people, a lot of even the drivers that are transporting it have never seen LNG burn. So there's a couple of things as part of this process. I want you to note when the LNG lights, when it ignites, it's very, very lazy. It's not like gasoline. It's not like propane. Both of those products, when they ignite, they flash almost immediately. LNG is very lazy and it burns back to its source. So when you watch as the fire lights, you'll see it's not an explosive ignition. I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to look at on the safety side for the fire department and making sure that we're safe as part of the response.
They have a PDF, Brian, so it's not going to...
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Goes to the mayor.
Next, again, more videos of things that we've done as part of our training. And that should be...
Is that video, not to interrupt, somewhere, is it on YouTube or somewhere we could share in the future? Or see?
I can share it directly to the city through a share file, and the city can disperse it out to the community so that they have the ability to look at it as well.
Thank you.
Me too.
And that's the end of the presentation.
That is it. Thank you so much. That is greatly appreciated, Council. Any questions this time?
Be assured there are a large number of hurdles that have to be crossed in order for this facility to move forward. They have to go through the federal government, they have to go through state government, they have to go through the Department of Transportation. None of that has even begun yet. As the fire department did when LNG became useful in the marine industry, once those things were decided, the fire department went out to community groups, to civic groups, to homeowners associations, and did education for all those communities, all of those people. And I think that's a huge piece, is making sure people understand what it is and what it's not. Our northern neighbor is the Space Center and the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, and both of them use chemicals every day. So I think the community is a little more prepared in dealing with chemicals than most other places in the country.
Would you please repeat the process that it has to go through for me?
The process for it to be approved, first they have to, the Port Authority has to agree to selling property. After they agree to selling property, then the vendor or the gas company has to get approval from the federal government, from state government, from the Department of Transportation, because it's right along the Department of Transportation highway. And then they have to go through the process of approvals for licensing and dispersion and those types of things. So it's not an easy project. It's not going to be a fast-moving project.
I do have a question,
Please.
Mr. Mayor. Couple of questions, actually. Is there any odor associated with LNG?
No, ma'am. LNG is odorless. It has to be odorless when it's transported in a liquid state. And the reason for that is the odor that they put in natural gas will freeze and crystallize at cryogenic temperatures at the minus 260 degrees. So it is odorless, it is colorless, it is tasteless, it is non-corrosive, and it's very safe for the environment. If LNG spills on the ground, it vaporizes and goes vertical. There is no reportable quantity as part of that process.
Okay.
So it's very safe.
So this will be transported by truck?
It will come in by pipeline as natural gas. It will be liquefied in a process that they have there on the site. And then transportation out will be by truck, possibly by ship. I don't know exactly what their decision is for those modes of transportation.
In the state of Florida, do we have any pipeline system that's already carrying LNG?
Not LNG, no ma'am. LNG is difficult to transport by pipeline because of the cryogenic temperatures. In order to keep it as a liquid, they have to have insulated and refrigerated pipelines. So it's transported within the community in semi-tractor trailers. They do it at Port Canaveral for the cruise ships, and they do that via barge, and they bring it in a barge so that they're loading the ships on the water side instead of the pier side.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Question on the possible hazard and incident slide that talked about that incident that happened in Ohio. And then the next line talks about 9% nickel. Was that related to that issue?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
1944 was the timeline of the incident that happened in Cleveland, Ohio. And when they built the tanks in 1944, we were in the middle of the war effort. At that point, they did not have the correct materials. They didn't recognize that the materials were not available to them. They built the tank out of cold rolled steel, and when they did that, the tank fractured. When it fractured full of LNG, it released LNG throughout the community. So it was a devastating incident, but it was also an incident that they learned a lot from, and they learned exactly what they had to do as part of it.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one. Okay, so I come from a refinery state with LNG plants on the coastline, and I mean, it does, I don't know about LNG specifically, but with a combination of those, it does have odors, and it has impacted environment and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying LNG does. I would have to dig into that further. So I'm not against LNG as someone that comes from a state with a lot of refineries and energy in general. I'm concerned about the location. And having said that, I would like to discuss the actual budget that the city pays for Canaveral Fire Services, because the port is utilizing this. The Space Center will be utilizing it, and we're paying, is it half that we pay of the budget for for Canaveral Fire Rescue? Because now we're going to be paying for services over on Merritt Island as well as citizens for emergency response if this goes through. And once again, and I hate to be this way, but once again, here we are with what benefit are we gaining from that? Well, we're helping the federal government, push the space program forward, which benefits everyone in the U.S. But once again, it feels like we're on the hook for it, because when you look at some of the things that we've had as far as our budget has increased for first responders, and that includes both BCSO and Canaveral Fire. And so I'm concerned about the fact that we're not driving a benefit. The cruise ships will that use LNG, and so will Space Force, and we're on the hook for part of the budget of it. So, anyone know? Does anyone know what percentage of the budget we pay?
It's 50-50 on some, it depends on the item. I think like the fireboat as an example.
Correct, it's by itself on the port.
Because the use was primarily for the port, they purchased 100%.
Yeah, so we have like the budget is a little bit tricky, let's put it that way. But it is 50-50 for our personnel, except for the personnel that are maybe on the fireboat or just strictly tied to the port. They pay 100% of their salaries and stuff like that. But as far as our operating budget and our firefighters here at Station 52 and at Station 54, it's a 50-50 split.
That is.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
But it's about a 60-40 when you look at it with the personnel that we also have on the port itself.
Just point of order. City Clerk?
I'm sorry.
That's
Could you
okay.
identify yourself for those who are listening in?
Yes, Jeff Crawley.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, so Jeff, if this plant moves forward, is Canaveral Fire going to look at going to the county for additional funding or is this something that as that plan is developed, we have to help pony up on the resources to cover that plant on Merritt Island now.
We would absolutely go and do what we had to do in order to staff it if we find that we need more staffing for it. We potentially could have the staffing and the stuff that we have for it. But that's something that's so far down the road, and it's at the beginning stages that we haven't got too far into that.
Okay.
But
'Cause
I
that-
want you to know, as the fire department, we're in a neutral state on this. We're not for it or against it. So I just want to make that clear from our standpoint. We're just trying to get some information out there that we know since we have dealt with it.
Yeah, understood. And this is a topic that, and I want to thank Councilmember Willis for bringing this to the agenda tonight, because it's a topic that a lot of people care about. We know in our city in the past that even when they wanted to build a little railway over into that estuary, it was not well received and didn't end up happening. And so as we look at these areas that are environmentally sensitive, it's very emotional for a lot of people here. We like our area, we love our waters, and they're already under stress. And so as we look at, things, for example, the fact that we have the renewal of the lagoon tax, but we have more treated water being emptied into into our Indian River and that sort of thing. All of this becomes a combined issue along with adding an LNG plant on Barge Canal. And the fact that a lot of that area would be mowed down to do it, as far as greenery and trees and that sort of thing. So, but for me as as Mayor Pro Tem, I want to make sure that if we're going to start policing the entire county or firefighting in the entire county, that we're not on the hook for it, because this brings no true advantage to us as a city to have that plant there. And so we shouldn't be on the hook for it as you all move forward. And you told me you're neutral, so I appreciate you telling me that.
Yes, absolutely.
But as we move forward, I'm letting you know how I feel, so you'll know.
That is no problem, and we'll do what we have to do on our end.
Because I personally don't think we should be paying for everything in the county, personally, unless we receive a benefit for it. So that's my opinion.
It's helpful, thank you. Any other questions this time? Thank you all very much. Chief Quinn, Deputy Chief Crowley, we appreciate y'all. It is early, and that information was helpful. Thank you, Councilmember Willis. I'll bring it back to you.
I didn't know if we had any public comment or anyone who wanted to.
If anyone, we just received that presentation from Canaveral Fire and Rescue. If you do want to speak on this item, Councilmember Willis, was a discussion item he placed. Yes.
Give it to you. Sorry.
Yes, you please just state your name. Obviously, Ms. Hodge, how are you?
Sarah Hodge, and
Thank you.
I have a lot of information that I've gotten from all over the world with big explosions from vibrations. Well, we're getting the Starship coming. 10 times more vibration than we've ever had before. We will probably. I have one where a facility was taken out with railroad vibrations next to it, cracked the tanks, and exploded the whole place. And they're saying there's no explosions? You need to look on the internet. Yeah, I've got
Ms.
this.
Hodge, we just asked you
I'm
direct.
sorry,
to
I'm
me. That's
sorry.
okay, yes.
But they are out there, and there's proof all over the world how dangerous LNG gas is if it goes, with cracks in the system or vibrations. I'm sorry I didn't even get anything together because I really didn't want to speak, but there is a lot of information that you all need to study before you believe this is not a really dangerous situation. And the LNG gas does emit toxic chemicals. They vent, and it goes into the community. In fact, I just bought an oxygen mask to protest this. We're going to do it next week. And this is not something that you can take, that it's safe. It's safer than some fuels, doesn't pollute as much, but it needs to be in an isolated area away from people, schools, parks, and transportation. And they have had gas explosions from pipelines, so they do explode too. So I don't have a prepared thing, but I'm very emotional about this. This is dangerous, and you all need to do your research. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think that's the benefit of this, starting the discussion item. We can hear concerns and collaborate. Did anyone else from the community want to speak on this matter? City Clerk's office, we got the name, is Sarah Hodge. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hodge. Thank you for being here. Council, any other comments? Councilmember Willis?
Just want to remind everybody that there will be a presentation tomorrow night at the Cape Canaveral Community Center from 5 to 7. So come out, learn a little more from the potential developers. So there's our opportunity.
That is great. Okay, at this time, we are at 6:57. I would like to, before that concludes, we move that discussion item just before the public hearing. When we return from recess, we can, I believe, go into the public hearing. There'll be one discussion item. I do need to leave at this time, but I'd like to just take at least a 5-minute recess. And Mayor Pro Tem, the gavel will be yours at this time. I think I just need to sign some things with the City Clerk's office, so let's try to reconvene as this council sees fit, because I will not be here. So 5 minutes, I'd say. Thank you.
also carried on spec consulting. Okay, we're waiting for our city attorney here, and we'll get started because he's kind of important in this next agenda item. I'm going to reconvene the meeting, and he'll be here in just one moment from our recess. We are on agenda item number 9, which is the title ordinance number 08-2025, update to the city's land development and permitting process. This was a second reading on this agenda item. However, there's some updates that the city attorney will be able to give us on this. This agenda item was brought forth with another resolution or ordinance and those two agenda items were put together to streamline our process for permitting and building within our city. And our city attorney has got some updates to this particular agenda item. Sorry, Anthony, I'm putting you on the hot seat.
I'm sorry, I was talking to our fire.
So I'll pass that over to our city attorney now.
So this is a second reading of ordinance number 08-2025, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cape Canaveral, Brevard County, Florida, relating to the city's land development and permitting processes, amending Chapter 110 zoning of the City Code to revise the site plan review and approval procedures, providing for streamlining the increased building height approval process under Section 110-624 to require concurrent consideration and approval by the City Council during site plan review. Amending Chapter 22 regarding the Community Appearance Board to revise the application review process, providing for the repeal of prior inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, incorporation into the code, severability, and an effective date. It's also a public hearing item. So late last week, we started getting a few comments from one of the property owners in the city of Cape Canaveral. Their legal counsel is here tonight, and I'm sure he submitted a speaker card, and they intend to present. The focus of my conversations with counsel for the property owner, they recommended some changes. I looked at those changes with the city manager, and we've made some adjustments to the ordinance. So there's a few proposed changes that are different than the ordinance as it existed in first reading. I have a PowerPoint presentation just to present those changes so it's clear to council, and hopefully this PowerPoint will be put up and it'll be easier to see exactly what the proposed changes are. So while we're waiting for that, I heard the preface to this ordinance. This ordinance is intended to streamline the site plan process and align with the City Council's goal to do that. In order to streamline the process, we need to make adjustments to the code. Some have already been made regarding concurrent permit approvals rather than the sequential approvals that the city
had over the years. What I mean by concurrent is to allow applicants to present multiple development permit applications concurrently at the same time, so their projects can be considered holistically and more of a one-stop shop rather than the current process that is very sequential and has to go through various boards. This is intended to streamline the process. This ordinance in particular on site plan review is, the very important critical piece mechanism to make that concurrent review a possibility. So
It's on the screen, but it's not going over, and I'm getting my team to check into it.
okay, we have technology problems. Well, hopefully they can pull it up because I don't have a hard copy of it.
Yes, but it's not going into. Just give us 1 moment, please.
Maybe take another brief recess while we're waiting.
Sure, let's take a brief recess, let them work out this tech issue. I must have started too quickly. Let's take 5 minutes and see if they can work this out.
Okay. I don't have a
Okay, can we see that up on our screens up here? Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to reconvene the meeting. Okay, we just reconvened, and back to you, City Attorney.
Okay, so we have at least a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. So the ordinance draft that is in the City Council's package is the ordinance as it existed when the council passed it on first reading. This slide presentation is actually going to go over the changes that were made based on the comments that we received. So when you see, if you go to the first slide, ladies. So I've already touched upon the purpose of the ordinance. So the first change, and I'm hoping that this makes it simple, you'll see the first change is to strike the word potential in red. Which, can you please leave the slide so when I'm discussing the slide that it stays up so I can, because I'm pointing to it and talking about it. So that's the first change you'll see in the right-hand corner. That's on page 2 of the ordinance. It's in that specific section. So small little change to strike the word potential. Next slide, please. Or just down it. I'm not sure if that was the next. No, that's.
That says page 6. So.
That references to the, okay, there you go. The page 6 reference on the bottom is page 6 of the ordinance that's in your package.
Okay.
So the section that's proposing to be revised has to do with an application requirement for regular site plan review. The original language was a waste disposal plan, describing how all solid waste will be handled on the site. The language in red is proposed to be stricken and replaced with simply the code references that this requirement is grounded under. So the proposed green is the proposed addition. It would be a solid waste disposal plan detailing the location and design of required on-site containers, point of collection, screening and transportation of all solid waste, and demonstrating compliance with Chapter 62, 78, Division 4, and 86 of the City Code, the city's solid waste franchise requirements, Appendix A franchise, Article 6, and all applicable laws. So the whole intent of this section was to require that the solid waste plan be presented as part of the site plan application. This is being more specific because all of those code sections require that information to be submitted to the city for review as part of approval process for a development project. So that's that change. The next change, stop right there, up a little bit. There is a current requirement for topographical survey in the site plan application process. And there was some language that was added that, upon retrospect, was misplaced. We were requesting that the location of any existing drainage, canal, swale, or ditch and related outfall areas be part of the topographical survey. Instead, that information is still required, but should be part of the engineering data, not the topographical survey. So you will see that the print in green adds that language in more detail under the engineering data section rather than the topographical survey. Because under the existing code, storm drainage information about surface waters is required to be submitted. All references to floodways, conservation areas, and ponds, et cetera. It's all part of the stormwater management sections of the code and is required information to review for development permit applications. So being a little bit more specific, but that's what we're proposing there. Then if you just go up to that little next type in red and finished grades for adjoining roads, that was additional language that was being proposed to be added. We're recommending that just be stricken. It's kind of redundant because that information requirement does require finished grades for streets anyway. So we're proposing just to strike that language from the proposed ordinance. And those changes are on page 6 and 7 of the ordinance in your package. Next. Stop right there. So this was, again, part of the information that's required as site plan application. We added some language about a landscape plan showing landscape areas, specimen trees, etc. We're clarifying that request is grounded in, as required by Chapter 102 vegetation, the A1 Economic Opportunity Overlay District regulations, and other applicable law. The landscape plan is required to be submitted, but there's, all the detail is in those sections of the code. So we're being a little bit more specific by adding that cross-reference. And that's on page 7 of the existing draft in your package. Continuing on with the information required as part of site plan approval, we're adding in subparagraph 8 a little bit more information that the development schedule is required to be submitted as required for a proposed planned phase development project, which may be authorized pursuant to the code. That's when the development schedule is typically provided as part of the site plan process when you have a phased development project and phasing has to be taken into consideration. So we're proposing that green language to add a little bit more clarity to that information request. Paragraph 9, same concept. There are times where covenants, grants, easements, dedications, and restrictions are required elsewhere in the code. Primarily, it's as applicable and required for subdivisions of land, planned development projects, and projects with shared facilities. And with those types of projects, that additional information tends to come up as being needed, like shared easements, dedications, and things like that. So we're moving on to that subparagraph 10. This was some language just adding a little bit more clarity. Depending on various code sections and applicable law, you can't think of everything in an enumerated list of information for site plan approval. There may be other instances when other relevant information is required. So we wordsmith this provision, and what we're intending is additional relevant information, adding language that clarifies deemed reasonably necessary by the city for the applicant to demonstrate compliance with applicable provisions of city code and law. So that's a little bit more clear for applicants in the city to guide when additional information may be necessary as part of the process. Next slide, please. With respect to site plan review criteria, the existing we would propose that language that's in red. Now we're proposing just striking that language. That has the existing code provides all that language that's not stricken or underlined. The issue of compatibility and in harmony with adjacent land uses, that's currently in that section and is explicitly required as part of the city's comprehensive plan. Anyway, so we're just proposing striking that, the language in red. Next, please. So some wordsmithing here. The first word potentially, that's similar to that first strikeout that we showed under the objective. So we're recommending just striking that language. If you remember at the first reading, we were having we attempted to try to put some clarifying language regarding security plan in there. I think it caused some discussion at the first hearing and some questions subsequent to the first reading. At this stage, I think we're just recommending just removing that new language in red in that paragraph 10. And not addressing it at this time. The Planning and Zoning Board had recommended adding that testing in that context, but at this point, we're just recommending just striking that language. It's not necessary to deal with at this time. On subparagraph 11, just some clarification. This is an existing criteria that's applicable to those, types of uses that require, large amounts of goods and product to be delivered on site. So what we're trying to get at with the language that is in red is to try to get at the code requirement about off-street loading spaces. When you have those types of businesses, they tend to require loading areas for all the goods and merchandise and materials. The current code is currently addresses off-street loading spaces, so we're just recommending striking all that language in red and adding the language in green that cross-references the loading space requirements under section 110-506 of the city code. Paragraph 12 and 13, for the same reasons I mentioned in paragraph 10, we're just recommending not even adding that language about the testing and security plans at this time. Next, please. And those are the enumerated changes that we're recommending be made to the ordinance that's in your package.
Thank you so much, City Attorney. I appreciate that presentation. Help us understand the changes as proposed for the second public hearing item. Council, do we have any questions or comments?
I do. And I don't know if it's just a typographical error or if there's a word here that I'm not familiar with that is used in this context. And that would be item number 9 on my sheet, where it says whether the proposed site avoids strike potentially significant adverse odor, emission, noise, and vibration, glare and vibration impacts on adjacent and surrounding lands regarding refuse collection, service delivery, parking, and loading signs, lighting, and other site elements. Is the word sire, am I not understanding that, or is that a typo?
What page are you on?
I'm sorry. Well, on the original one that I was given,
Okay.
page 9 of 17,
And
it would
what-
be item number 10.
Okay, page 9 of 17.
Yeah, item number 9.
Item number 10.
No, item number 9.
Item number 9.
Right.
Whether the proposed site will have an adverse impact on public services, including water, sewer, stormwater, and surface water management,
No.
police, fire, parks, and recreation streets.
No, not that one. I'm so sorry.
number 9,
I'm sorry.
right?
Page 9 of 17, and it's item number 9. Thank you, line
Line
22.
22,
And it
thank you.
would actually be line 24.
Okay,
Sure.
so line 24,
It's not on the PowerPoint. It's on the original.
right?
Yeah, in the original, there's a typo. It says sire,
Sire.
S-I-R-E.
Right.
We're recommending striking sire because it should be site. and
Got it.
Inserting the
Thank
word
you.
site.
Thank
Yes.
you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so, council, any additional? Councilmember Willis?
No, I think what Anthony's presented is fairly self-explanatory. Seems to be a compromise. And at this point, I think I'm good with what he's proposing.
Councilmember Shoryak?
I'm good with the changes.
Okay. All right. And we did have a public comment card on this. Mr. Oliver, would you like to speak? And I believe, did you have a presentation, or are you just going to? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. I don't know if the microphone or not, but I can talk.
There we go.
Cole Oliver with the Lowndes Firm. I'm here representing Ambassador Services. And, you know, a wise man once said, once you've had several people announce support, sit down and shut up. But we are in proposal, or we are in thankful to the city staff and the city attorney. They did take the time to work through our concerns, and I think that we were able to come together on resolutions that added the clarity that my client wanted to see on this, yet still preserving the city's goals of moving into a more streamlined process that allows the site plan process to move through efficiently. So we're thankful to staff for working with us, and we're in support of the ordinance as presented tonight. Thank you. Unless you guys have any questions for me, that'd be all I have.
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Oliver?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver.
Thank you all.
All right, and one thing that was provided, I'm going to hold it up, and this I'm very happy to see as we work forward with this agenda item. It's something that staff has put together for us, and it gives it's like a chart, a roadmap for the building process here in Cape Canaveral. And on the new copy that we've received on dais tonight, it has a star on it. That shows the opportunities that the public has to engage with the process, to make your voice heard, to be able to say whether it's something that you are in support of or not. So these things are actually it's very a great thing in the process, because we had things going with multiple boards and things like that. So I'm happy for seeing this graphic that makes it a little bit easier as well. City attorney, city manager, y'all have anything on this one?
This is consistent with your policy objectives.
And Councilmember Willis, did you have additional information?
No additional information. I just think it's great to put a decision tree together and show the public exactly what the process is, all the steps that go into it, and how things get turned around when they're declined. And I appreciate the opportunities to display to the public every chance that they have to comment on any of the issues. So thank you.
You're welcome. Hats off to our staff for putting it together. They did a great job.
Yep, that was a great job. We're really appreciative of that. Okay, so I believe if we don't have any other public comments on this agenda item, okay, I believe we can move to a vote. City Clerk?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution, hold on. I make a motion that we adopt the ordinance 08-2025 as amended.
I'll second the motion. I'll second the motion.
Okay, did you call for the public to be
Oh, I'm sorry?
Did you call for the public to be heard?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
thank you.
Mhm.
Right. Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
4.
Councilmember King.
4.
Councilmember Shoriak.
4.
And Councilmember Willis.
4.
The vote carries 4-0. Thank you, City Attorney and staff, for working on that agenda item. We appreciate your help on that. All right. And now we have the last agenda item, which that one's mine, so I'll go ahead and just keep talking, as y'all are probably thrilled to hear. Okay, so this agenda item number 10.2 is, the title of the agenda is Infrastructure Resiliency Grant Proposal. And I wanted to have a discussion and consideration of writing grant proposals for state or federal funding for infrastructure resiliency due to launch impacts as larger rockets are introduced into the launch schedule at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and Kennedy Spaceport. So in summary, in order to prepare for the arrival of larger rockets launching from the spaceport and resiliency of our infrastructure as a city moving forward, Council needs to discuss and approve to apply for possible federal or state grants to strengthen our infrastructure and resiliency for our city via any available grant initiatives like the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which provided direct grants, formula funding to states, and federal loans for significant infrastructure improvements to potentially update and upgrade our water processing plant, stormwater infrastructure, sewage infrastructure, or any other municipal needs. The legislation is also established the promoting resilience operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation which is called PROTECT, and that was a competitive grant program to enhance surface transportation resilience against natural hazards, including extreme weather and flooding. And the PROTECT program offered both formula funding to states and competitive grants, with the federal share for resilience grants generally not exceeding 80%, though it could have been up to 100% for projects carried out by Indian tribes. Additionally, the IIJA authorizes building resilient infrastructure and communities program through a fiscal year 2026 with funding subject to congressional appropriation. There were municipalities that received an estimated $12.7 billion in federal funds for infrastructure projects from 2022 to 2025, addressing transportation, water, and energy needs. And so those grants are already in process and they've been awarded. But as we look at the fact that these launches are coming and we are looking at how do we prepare our city. We're here, we're part of the space industry itself, with the fact that we have workers that live here and we have been part of the history of the space programs. We need to look at whatever funding or grant that we may be able to obtain in order to look at how to shore up the things in our community in preparation for those larger launches. In saying that, I am going to ask our city manager to give us some information, because he's already working on some things in regards to this, and I wanted him to give you an update.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and I appreciate you bringing this item to the council for consideration, in that, we always need to discuss alternate forms of funding so that we can protect our infrastructure, whether it's underground or above the ground. And you listed some very specific grants for us to look into. We have taken a preliminary look at those, and we've determined that the BRIC grant has been canceled and it's no longer available for funding. That happened back in April of 25, so we can scratch that one off the list. The other two grants, in particular, the PROTECT grant and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs, both preliminary review looks like they're focusing mostly on highway transit and certain port projects. So as we dive into those, one of them has a link to the Emergency Relief Program, and that would be the Jobs Act grant. As we dive into those, we can potentially identify some funding sources for us to look into. But in the meantime, what we've done as a staff is we have created a tracking instrument for all grants that we have applied for or will, look into, and we'll make sure that we have a master list of those. We can look at it, and if it's applicable or not, we'll keep it on the list. We can revisit them moving forward, and we will definitely, put these grants to that list so we can look at them moving forward. But I would just invite council to have a good open dialogue here about funding, what sources you think we should pursue or not. As you know, gathering data related to potential vibrational damage is important, not just for our below-ground infrastructure, but above-ground infrastructure, and the partnerships that we have established with our community regarding, how to prepare yourself for potential damage. And the research that we're doing that goes on in other states. California in particular, as we've learned, has insurance policies and building codes dedicated to seismic activity, which in one way does parallel potentially vibrational damage. So we have a lot of research to do to see how we can best prepare our community, but we would also like thoughts from council on what other sources of revenue as we dive into that as well.
Thank you, City Manager. And my purpose for bringing this was really to get council's consensus that they want staff time to be spent on looking for sources of revenue other than simply our state. And the reason that I'm saying that, and the reason that I referenced some of these federal programs, is that if we're going to all be good neighbors, we need some help, and that I would love to see what sources are available for people's residences as well. If there's sources available for people making their own properties more resilient. And I'm happy that staff has worked so hard on putting some of this information that they've put together so far. So council, what are your thoughts? Do we have any comments? Councilmember Willis?
Yeah, well, one of the things we've got to also consider is that we are going to probably need a grant writer, because if we're going to go after so many diverse grants, this can't be something that is siloed within a department. It's got to be, in my opinion, at a position at a higher level. I think the city manager and I briefly discussed that possibility that somebody would be working directly for him. It's going to require somebody to stay on top of it. It's going to be a full-time job. And with what is happening with our state legislature, grants are going to be even more competitive. As the potential for property taxes to go away, we are going to have to fight for any grant money with everybody else. So it's going to be difficult. And I think we need to apply for everything that we possibly can, well beyond just things to help with our infrastructure. We need to go after environmental grants because we're going to have to go after everything. And with the possibility of even losing our business taxes, we're going to have to find even more. So not to be gloom and doom, but if everything that the state legislature wants to do is passed, then it's going to make it very difficult for cities to fund things like this. And we've got to go after a lot of grants, state, federal, anything. As far as the individuals that need grants, I think it would be helpful to make those available grants, let the public know that they can apply for these, because we can't apply for them.
Absolutely understood.
But they, if we can show them what to apply for, how to apply for it, and when to get it in, because you've got to be the first one to the trough here. So in order to get any grant proposals approved. So I think it's very worthwhile to go after everything we can, and especially with the emphasis on the infrastructure and with the space program and the possible effects that will have on us. We've got to go after everything we can. So thank you.
May I say something?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem. I agree wholeheartedly with what Councilor Willis is saying. I just don't understand. I don't know what kind of a salary we're talking about for a good grant writer, and this was mentioned earlier, cost benefit. Okay, if we can find a good grant writer who will bring in these grants, they'll be worth their weight in gold for our city. And that's the only question I have is we can't throw this out there and just offer a minimum salary. I would think we would need somebody who knows what they're doing, who has a good track record, knows how to go after these grants. And do we have the budget for it?
Right. Councilmember Shoryak?
I agree. It's a great idea to go after as much money as we can get. Do we know what they're doing over in Texas, where they currently launched the Starship?
And that's something that the city manager and I have discussed, having a relationship with them, some of the cities in that area. Now, as I put this agenda item together, and it's interesting with the discussion on adding a person, adding staff. I would like to hear from the city manager, because for our size city, we've got a lot of staff, and we've got a lot of talent that have gotten grants. And what and I understand from the state level what Councilmember Willis is saying. However, we know that as I look at this, yes, there are things that the state is pushing legislatively that is going to require that we look at our budget and that sort of thing. As we all saw in an email from someone in the realtor industry this week, we're positioned better as a city than most of the cities on the barrier island. We were positioned best because of the fact that we have short-term rentals. To eliminate property taxes is what this article said. The thing that was a little concerning is we were second highest on our general fund. So I think as we go forward looking at our budget, before we look at hiring a grant writer, we need to look at what kind of things we want to accommodate for moving forward, knowing that the state is going to pull some of the funding on things, possibly eliminate homesteaded property taxes, and look at things with a different lens. Because the last 2 years we've cut the budget, and that has put us in a better position than other communities within the barrier island. And whether we like it or not, we do have 21.1% of us are homesteaded in Cape Canaveral out of all the residences. And that gives us a tremendous amount of revenue coming in if homestead property taxes are eliminated, because that's a small percentage of what we have to accommodate for. Now, having said those things, my thought process on this is, because specifically dealing with vibrations, resiliency moving forward with the space program, this program is pushing for these larger launches. They're going to be looking at the Golden Dome. This is a defense situation where we are accommodating for national defense. And that's why we have to learn to work together. We need, in my opinion, as one of five, we need to talk to, and this is another thing I wanted to bring to council, is allowing or giving our city manager the latitude to talk to some of our reps, okay? The thing that we do have with our city manager is someone that knows about lobbying from his police department days and police chief days. He knows about appropriations and funding and grants and those kind of things. And he has quite a few contacts, is what I found out, already in place. And so I would like to give him the latitude to exercise some of those, to see what we could get pushed forward for our city that may be a grant, it could be an appropriation, And to me, it's important to look at the federal level because we are their neighbor on federal property. They are pushing this for our nation's defense, and so we need to work together, and we need to protect our city as a whole. So those were my thoughts on this, is that, you know, in order to move us forward, you know, so I wasn't looking at let's get a grant writer or hire a grant writer and that kind of thing. I'm saying, and I might not have communicated it well, but I'm saying grants are one of the things that we can look at, working with our reps, you know, in DC and our senators, trying to work with the people involved that need to push space forward to make sure that we are able to ensure our resiliency. So, council, do you all have a problem with our city manager pursuing some of that?
I don't. If he's willing to, as if he doesn't have enough on his plate already.
Well, we had discussed this, and I believe you're willing to, but you please speak for yourself, city manager.
Well, I'm happy to do as council directs. I think we need more information. It's clear that there are potential sources of revenue in grants. I think we first need to determine what actual grants we're eligible for. I think that will determine whether or not there is a need for a grant writer. I love the idea of having a grant writer. I understand that comes with a cost, and so we'll have to see if that one outweighs the other. Currently, we approach the grant process, as I've shared with you, from a more of a decentralized approach. We have staff within respective departments that will seek grants, and if we can consolidate those efforts into one office, one grant writer, and they would absorb what grants that we're already doing, then that would relieve the other staff members from those responsibilities. They can obviously work together, but those duties would go to a grant writer. But then we would want to, you know, fill up that additional time with other grants that they can pursue. We need more data as well. I think we suspect that we're going to sustain, you know, potential vibration damages, and what does that look like for us? And will there be other sources of revenue available in the event that that happens? This is an evolving business. You know, the space industry is so important to this nation. And what partnerships can we engage in, you know, with NASA, with, you know, free enterprise up there, with commercial space? What partnerships can we initiate with them that could, you know, benefit the city financially? So I think at this point we have more questions than answers, but we need to get out there and get the information so that we can chart a better course. And if the council is open to a grant writer come budget time, and we feel like we can justify that, then we will present that to you. And we appreciate the support for that.
Thank you, city manager. And, you know, as we move forward, identifying these sources like you're talking about now, it's imperative for us. And supporting our nation's security and defense is imperative for us as well.
Thank you. I agree with that. And I did want to add one other thing. If we are going to move in this direction and pursue, that could result in pursuing legislation, the council in the past has budgeted for a lobbyist or a lobby firm, and that should be a viable consideration for the council now moving forward. We would need someone to advocate for us in Tallahassee when it comes to whatever item that could only be achieved through legislation. I'm not saying it's a this year thing. I'm saying we need to be open to those conversations, just like being open to a grant writer. And if the budget can support that, a lobbyist would be very handy in Tallahassee.
Okay.
We didn't budget for this year, but we have had a lobbyist in the past.
Right. Understood. So you will be able to start with staff, current staff, and get us some information and maybe a plan in place, and then we would be able to look at that and the impacts of that financially moving forward with our budget, correct?
Yes, my goal would be to task staff to get out there and really scour what's available from a grant perspective, and then come back, as early, hopefully, as the next council meeting to say that these are some things that we think are opportunities for us.
Okay, because, and here's my thoughts. As we go through the budget process, those things aren't finalized till September. And from checking out the latest EIS, it is not licensed. The vessel itself, the Starship, is not licensed to go to launch yet. And there's actually still the no action alternative in that EIS. So the pad has been licensed for them to build the launch facility at LC 39A. But we have Blue Origin also that's closer to our city. So for us, we need to move as expeditiously as possible versus dragging our feet or looking to hire. So I would like to see what staff can come up with for us so that we know that we are moving forward trying to find assistance with this. And I think that it's extremely important to engage with our federal government because we're trying to be their good neighbor in our national defense situation.
Yes.
And so therefore, we need to be considered. In my opinion, it's important to consider us as a location that is historical to the space industry.
And a community that 100% supports space.
Yes. Yeah. We want to do the right thing, but when it comes down to it and the rubber hits the road for me, I'm doing this for my constituents. People need to be able to live in their city and not be impacted negatively. So, okay, council, any more discussion?
Well, this kind of ties in with my report that I'll be giving in a little bit, but we had the opportunity to meet with Linda Weatherman, who is the president and CEO of the Economic Development Council, and in the course of a conversation I had with her, she indicated that, actually, it was part of her presentation, but we did talk about it personally, that the Golden Dome is coming, and the Economic Development Council is going to go after as much business as possible from that. And I can't help but wonder if there isn't some opportunity there for us to collaborate with the EDC in that regard. And I'll talk a little bit further about that when I give my report, but I think that we need to keep our eyes and our contacts with the EDC. I think they can be very valuable to us.
Well, I know that with the meetings that I've gone to with them, I know they're very interested in accommodating the space industry.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, they are.
They would be a integral part of our relationship building.
Tomorrow launches here is the EDC's logo.
Yes, exactly. Councilmember Shoriat? Nope. Councilmember Willis? Okay. So I believe we have consensus that you all can move forward with that and get us some information on anything that maybe we should call it low-hanging fruit at this point. We've got such a huge basket to look at, but that's the intent of the agenda item for me. So I don't have any public comment cards on this agenda item. Is anyone wanting to speak? Okay. So our next, we had our financial reports. And we had the vacation rental report. So now, council, do you all have any reports that you'd like to give?
Well, as I indicated earlier, I do.
Okay. Councilmember King?
Oh, okay. All right. I'm on.
You're on.
I'm on, okay. All right, well, I attended the Space Coast League of Cities dinner last month in Palm Bay, and it was held at the L3 Harris facility, which blew my mind. It's beautiful. And to see what's happening in Palm Bay, I mean, it's really advanced considerably since the early days of Palm Bay. Let me just say that. And then more recently, we attended the Space Coast League of Cities in Rockledge, and I'm learning more about the issues, as well as seeing some familiar faces from my days when I was involved in the community, more specifically with the United Way Board, okay, and also Leadership Brevard, which is now known as LEAD Brevard. Okay, last week's Space Coast League of Cities guest speaker was Holly Smith. She's the president of the Florida League of Cities, and she's also the vice mayor of the city of Sanibel. How lucky for her. She's very enthusiastic, and her remarks had everyone's attention. I was looking around the room to see if people were, they were paying attention to what she had to say. She'd be a hard act to follow, given her energy and her positivity. Anyway, the next meeting of the Space Coast League of Cities is going to be in Malabar on March 9th, and following that, here in Cape Canaveral. We're going to be hosting it on April 13th at the Radisson. I also attended the Economic Development Commission's annual meeting that was held in Cocoa Village at the beautiful Playhouse. That was last Thursday evening, and now, not to brag on myself, but some of you might remember when I was busy in the community covering social, cultural, and fundraising events for a twice-weekly column I wrote for Florida Today. So during those years, I had a lot of opportunities to meet people of influence in the community, including Linda Weatherman, when she first came to Brevard to take the position of director, which was then named the Space Coast Economic Development Council. All right. Today, she's the organization's president and CEO. And along with her staff and board of directors, and I'm reading from this because I don't want to make a mistake, has brought Brevard in over $1.8 billion in capital investment from more than 50 business development projects just in the past year. She is a powerhouse. She's a diplomat, she's a marketer, she's a negotiator, she's a valuable person in our county. And as delighted as I was to see her, I was even more delighted to see Tamsin Bell, our economic development person here at the event. She attended by herself. I give her a lot of credit for doing that. And I had the opportunity to introduce her to Linda Weatherman, and they chatted back and forth, and I encouraged a collaboration with her. I took their photo together. I was looking at the weekly report. I didn't see it, but she said it'll be in next week's. And I think this chance meeting gave Tamsin and our city a great opportunity to work together with the EDC on future economic development ideas and projects to our mutual benefit. All right. Again, she said she's going after as much business connected with Golden Dome as possible. Maybe there's something in there for us as well. And the final thing is, the one thing that I took away from that conversation with Linda Weatherman was her observation about our city. She asked, well, you're on council now. How do you like it? I said, we have a lot of challenges. And we're working, we're keeping a positive attitude, but we're working hard because we have a lot of Goliaths that we're dealing with. And she said, well, you know what? She said, despite the diminutive size of your city, she said, you have one thing that nobody else has. And I said, rockets? And she said, your name, Cape Canaveral. You are known throughout the world. Market it, use it, make it work for you. So, nobody else can claim it. We own it. And she added that we can do much with that in finding ways to make it work for us. So I was very, very glad to have gone. Tom and I went, and we sashayed around and tried to make connections. And I just think that these kinds of opportunities, these kinds of events give us opportunities to, and as it's supposed to do, coordinate, correlate, and figure out ways to enhance each other's position in the community vis-a-vis our responsibilities. And so that's my report.
Thank you so much, and thank you for attending those meetings for us and representing us as a city. We appreciate that. Very interesting, and I do think that we have to, be as active as we can in the different groups in our county to ensure that we're not missing things. So, wonderful report. Thank you. Councilmember Shoriak?
I did the same things Andrea did, League of Cities and EDC, and Councilmember Willis was there as well. Also, as you know, we attended the groundbreaking for the lighthouse, the Lightkeeper's cabin or
Yes.
cottage.
Yes.
Cottage. That was pretty interesting. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
And you planted sea oats, Councilmember.
Yes, Saturday morning we planted sea oats. It was a
Yes.
good day. We had a great turnout.
That was wonderful.
Perfect
and,
weather, we had great weather, and then rain the next 2 days. So you can't ask for better.
And
better
that's a
weather than
wonderful thing, too. I was worried about those. Councilmember Willis?
Yes, I also attended the EDC, spoke to a number of business owners that were there from Titusville, Palm Bay, and Rockledge. Attended the Space Coast League of Cities Executive Board meeting in Rockledge this past month and had a very good conversation. We talked a lot about legislation that we're having to face and deal with as communities, and we have to pull together with the rest of Brevard County. We're not going to be able to do it on our own. Neither will anybody else. So we have to work together with our neighbors to ensure that we have our own voice in Tallahassee, that we have local control of our city, not acquiescent to the state. Also attended, like I said, the EDC, Space Coast League of Cities. We'll be attending the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council meeting at the end of the month. I think you will be there as well. We will be presenting an award to the city of Cape Canaveral at that meeting, and I'm looking forward to it very much. And next month, as Councilmember King said, Space Coast League of Cities will be meeting in Malabar, and we'll have another executive board meeting there as well, and assume a decent dinner. Okay, all right, well, and we were able to plant sea oats yesterday, and that was very fun getting to do that for the 5th year in a row, and we had a lot more people attending. I think at my crossover we had 26 people show up to plant, and that was encouraging because I didn't have to stay there all morning, so that was good. But that was basically it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Willis, I would think this is just my opinion, but I think it would be wonderful if maybe in March we could get a legislative update from you with some of those bills and how far they've gotten so far. And I'm the first to admit it's my busy season, so that makes it difficult to keep up with the track of those. And I know that it's a very important time with those, and especially with home rule.
Well, there's about just under 2,000 bills that directly impact cities. I think there's a tremendous amount of bills out there, but we're going to monitor it, and I think there's going to be some positive impacts. I know Senate Bill 840 will alleviate some of that Senate Bill 180 mess that happened last year, so I'll prepare an extensive report on that. I'll be going back up to Tallahassee. It was planned to go this Thursday, but Senator Mayfield has not been able to make time, so it'll be next week. I'll be going back up there for the Space Coast League of Cities and Cape Canaveral.
Okay, thank you. I think that's wonderful. I appreciate hearing that you don't mind doing that. All right, and you all heard a little bit of what I was doing. It's my busy season, so it's been really tough, but I was over at the Lighthouse Keepers Cottage dedication. Was really excited to get to deal with that. I did attend, as Dr. Roberts told us earlier, the new event at the Cape Center, which is around NASA, and it is just that one I really loved. as well as the fact, my favorite part of that was strange though. It was right at the entryway and all of the historical pictures from our city. And I love that part. I hadn't seen that yet. So I encourage everyone to go and enjoy that exhibit. It was really a wonderful exhibit and a very nice night. I have been dealing with some of the things with the vibrational, situation with the launches and that kind of thing. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I was in Florida Trend magazine this month in an article written about the space industry and the shaking that we experience here and what we're doing, trying to move forward and work with all this. So I was very happy to be able to participate in that, and I was happy that it was. I think the article had some journalistic integrity that had worried me in the beginning. So I'm not very good with that.
You're modest. You're being modest, Mayor Pro Tem. You're on the cover. You have the cover of Florida Trend magazine, which I am given to understand is read by everyone of prominence in Florida. So there you go. Thank you for doing this. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. It was really cold that morning on the beach, I'll tell you that. I was a frozen icicle, but the main thing is that we try to protect our citizens, our infrastructure, our homes, and that sort of thing, and that's really what drives me on that. But I was glad that it was an article that really did the situation some justice. So, and thank you, Councilmember King. That's nice of you to say that. Okay, do we have any other additional public comments? Oh, I'm sorry.
Tomorrow, the LNG meeting is.
Yes.
I was going to attend it. I don't know any other council members.
I will be there, and that LNG meeting, and I'm going to say this, knowing that this is something I saw, is not endorsed by the city of Cape Canaveral. It is an event that the vendor has rented the space from the Cape Center, and having spoken to the vendor, it is an educational opportunity to learn more about LNG. They will not be taking public feedback. So you can go in and take a look at what they've got and possibly speak to some of the employees, but they don't have a formal process for taking public feedback on that. So just want to give you that little bit of information. And are there any other events that I should be mentioning that I'm missing here?
Well, they do have, they are taking public comment at 2 email addresses that are up on the screen now, so.
Okay, yes, but I mean in the meeting itself.
Nice, huh?
Right. Okay, so, City Manager, do you have any reports to make?
No reports this evening, Mayor Pro Tem.
City Attorney? And have I missed anything?
I think you went through that agenda pretty efficiently.
Okay, all right. So we will adjourn our meeting at 8:18 in the city of Cape Canaveral. Thank you so much for joining us.